Hey guys, Aaron Farmer here with mysugarfreejourney.com. And a new study was released in April that looked at the effect of deactivating Facebook or Instagram from your phone. And I gotta say, the results were incredibly impressive. So here's the money quote. People who deactivated Facebook for the 6 weeks before the election, this is the 2020 election, reported a 0.060 standard deviation improvement in an index of happiness, depression, and anxiety relative to controls who deactivated for just the first of those 6 weeks. People who deactivated Instagram for those 6 weeks reported a 0.041 standard deviation improvement relative to controls. So let's look at that. So a control group was asked to deactivate the apps for 1 week, while the study group deactivated the apps for 6 weeks. And Facebook saw a 6% improvement over the standard deviation, and Instagram users saw a 4% improvement in happiness, levels of depression, anxiety. That doesn't sound a lot, but that's a comparison to standard deviation. So it's actually quite a bit. There are SSRIs that don't see that level of improvement on average. So a few caveats before we kind of look at this a little bit more. The study was done in the lead up to the 2020 election, and if you will recall, that was an absolutely crazy time in this country. Lockdowns were in effect in most of the blue states. In fact, I think all of the blue states were still locked down at that point. We were, thank you. I've never been more proud to be a Texan than during the lockdowns because Texas was open very, very quickly, and you know, it was a lot easier to be in Texas than it was to be in like California. We were also in the lead up to the most important election of our lives, until the next one. A lot of people were spending a giant chunk of time doom scrolling social media. Depression and anxiety levels were at an all time high. So some of these numbers might be skewed a little bit, but um, still, even with all those caveats, the numbers are really eye popping and give more credence to the theory that our social media algorithms are engineered to make us more anxious and angry because that's what keeps us coming back and that's what keeps us scrolling. Our phones have been compared to adult pacifiers, but pacifiers are meant to pacify. Our phones are constant irritants that annoy and enrage. They take our time, they take our emotional health, and they do it to put money in the hands of our tech overlords. So I remember years ago, gosh, it's probably been 10 years ago now, reading the book Salt, Sugar, Fat, um, and learning how these large food companies were engineering our food to make it more addictive, and being so upset when I read it that here are these forces that I didn't understand at the time. I've gotten a lot more understanding since then. But at the time, I didn't even understand what I was up against when I was trying to take control over my own health. And these forces were endangering the health of not just me, but the entire nation in order to maximize profits. And it's becoming ever more clear that these social media companies are doing the same. And it's frustrating for me as someone who spent the last decade or so trying to fix so many aspects of my health and to keep coming back to the fact that virtually every major force in our culture is working against me. Every major food company is working against me. The social media companies are working against me. The food companies just want to put as much food down my gullet as they can possibly get. Social media companies want me crazy, basically, because that's what keeps me scrolling. So, from the food in our grocery stores to the phone in our pockets, we have to constantly be vigilant, keep an eye on the influences in our lives that make big money for other people if we are sick, tired, and unhealthy. And it sucks, but that's the world that we live in, and that's the battle that we have to fight. Um, One other fact that was interesting about this study was that there was an age and gender breakdown. So men over 35 saw more benefit to deleting Facebook. Women under 25 saw more benefit to deleting Instagram. So take that into account when you're making your social media decisions. I would recommend that you get some kind of governor on your phone that, blocks social media for that only lets you see social media for like an hour a day or something like that. It would probably be good for your mental health. I'm not totally sure why men over 35 would see more benefit from deleting Facebook, and women under 25 would see more benefit from deleting Instagram, but um, maybe keep that in mind when you're making your decision. But I thought this study was very interesting, and it just drives home again how important it is that we take control over what we put in our bodies, whether it be the food in our mouths or where we're putting our eyes on for hours and hours a day, because your just like your physical health is very important, your mental health is important too, and your social media consumption may be a big factor in why so many people out there seem to be going crazier and crazier as time goes on. Anyway, thought that was very interesting. So this is Aaron Farmer with mysugarfreejourney.com. You guys have a great day. Bye bye.